Hey guys, I'm kind of in the middle of reorganizing my stuff today, so my place is a bit of a mess, but I'm going to get right down to business. Recently there's been a lot of outrage from the left over Donald Trump calling the mainstream media fake news. Let's get one thing straight though. He is absolutely right. From their lies about Russia influencing the US election to their actual attempts in concert with the Clinton campaign to influence the election, these people have proven they're extremely pathetic and allergic to truth. Honestly, at this point, I even feel the FCC has a case to shut down their individual networks. Or, that the Justice Department might even have a case for filing criminal charges of treason against some of the reporters involved, which I will list later in this video. And this may all sound harsh, but like I said, Donald Trump is right, and these reporters are the enemy of the American people and a threat to our country. I mean, yes, we have a First Amendment that protects free speech, but there are exceptions to this rule. You can say whatever you like, but it's still illegal to yell fire in a crowded movie theater. That'll get you arrested. Or if you instruct others to take violent action against people, that'll get you arrested. That's exactly what the media has done, for that matter, In fact, in some cases, they've done exactly that in terms of calling for violence. As if their false narrative of, Russian hacking meant to continue us barreling towards the Third World War that Barack Obama wanted to start isn't enough. Some outlets have put out material amounting to hit lists. Yes, I just said hit lists. On January 18th, CNN's Wolf Blitzer held a segment with correspondent Brian Todd in which they came up with a wonderful, fantastic, hypothetical scenario in which Trump and Pence were killed and listed which officials besides them would have to die before an Obama appointee would become president. And, they did this on air in front of millions, despite knowing that there was mass hysteria over Trump's election from the left. Actually, despite is the wrong word for that. They did it knowing that there was this hysteria, since they collectively stoked it with the cooperation of the outgoing administration, which is so intent on starting a civil war. This honestly takes being a sore loser to an unacceptable level, when the losers lie and try not just to undermine the incoming presidency, but to get the president killed. They've continued to spread lies since November 8th, when they realized that the lies they told before then would not make their candidate win. And they continue to tell these lies about Russian hackers to try and undermine the legitimacy of the president. And of course, they have the support of the central lack of intelligence agency in this. Now this whole lie about Russian hackers, by the way, serves a threefold purpose. Like I said, the first is to try to undermine legitimacy of the presidency. The second is to stir up public opinion and try and force President Trump to continue Barack Obama's retarded Cold War with Russia. And the third is to draw away attention from the fact that the mainstream media and the DNC were the ones who were in fact the actual people trying to influence the election, using false news stories and withholding news that was damaging to the Clinton campaign. When you apply reality, it blows a huge hole in their fake news narrative, though they will just try and cover it up and down, fight it and stuff. Now, the first major blow is that, the founder of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, says that the documents his website leaked did not come from any Russian source, state or private. Now, Julian Assange is an extremely honest individual who values the truth, so that's good enough for me. But for those of you who remain unconvinced, there is other evidence. Shortly before the DNC leaks became public, the DNC staffer Seth Rich was killed in D.C. in a mysterious mugging, during which nothing was stolen from his person. After this, WikiLeaks offered a $20,000 reward for information on his killer. And honestly, this makes it clear to me that this staffer was probably involved in leaking the DNC emails and that he was mugged in retaliation for damaging the Clintons' run for office as well as the reputation of the DNC. Now, the evidence about the Podesta leaks, too, also points to no involvement whatsoever by the Russians. Julian Assange said himself in an interview that a 14-year-old could have hacked John Podesta's email account, revealing that the password little Johnny used was password, the most generic thing you could possibly use. Honestly, 14-year-old is generous. I think a 5-year-old could have hacked it, because only a retard would use something that simple for a secure password. In addition, former British ambassador to Russia, Craig Murray, claims to have met someone who was involved with the Podesta and DNC leaks. And for those of you who want to cry, oh, he was a Russian ambassador, Britain has a hard stance against Russia, so he isn't going to be friendly unless he's telling the truth, you know. Anyway, he says that this person didn't only have nothing to do with Russia, he happened to be a DC insider, working with other DC insiders. So, in the end, in reality, not only did Russia have nothing whatsoever to do with the leaks that cost Hillary the election, rightly so, all the evidence points to the fact that it was all Americans fed up with the corruption of the DNC and the mainstream media who saw Hillary Clinton as a threat to the country, which she was and still is. But then again, reality really does not play a factor in the mainstream media's fake news narrative. Just remember all this, because honestly, with all the calls into investigating Russian involvement into influencing the election, instead an investigation should be done into the DNC and the media for trying to influence the election, a criminal investigation. From the information that was released in the Podesta and DNC leaks, it was revealed that a large number of reporters from the mainstream media were directly coordinating with and colluding with the Clinton campaign and the DNC. In fact, I'm going to read off a list of these names, compiled by Ron Paul, plus a few other notable sources and, names as well, and the outlets that they're associated with. And I'm going to post this list in the description too, so let's get started. From ABC News, the reporters colluding with them were Cecelia Vega, David Muir, Diane Sawyer, George Stephanopoulos, Liz Kreutz, Jon Karl. From Bloomberg, John Heillman, Mark Halperin, Jennifer Epstein. From CBS, Norah O'Donnell, Vicki Gordon, Steve Chagaris. From CNBC, John Harwood, Rebecca Quick. From CNN, Donna Brazile, Brianna Keilar, or Keilar, something like that. Brian Chalian, Gloria Borger, Jeff Zeleny, John Bergman, Kate Bouldan, Mark Preston, Dan Merica, Sam Feist, Chris Cuomo, Wolf Blitzer. From the Daily Beast, Jackie Kunich or something like that. From the Huffington Post, Whitney Snyder and Amanda Terkel. From BuzzFeed, Ruby Kramer. From NPR, Tamara Keith. From Reuters, Amanda Becker. From the Associated Press, Julia Pace, Ken Thomas, Liz Lerner. From MSNBC, Alex Seitz-Wald, Alex Wagner, Beth Foley, Chuck Todd, Phil Griffin, Rachel Maddow, Rachel Rasmussen, Mark Murray. Oh wait, actually I went into NBC there, because from NBC, Mark Murray, Savannah Guthrie. From the New York Times, Amy Chozick, Gail Collins, Jonathan Martin, Maggie Haberman, Mark Lebievich, Pat Healy. From the New Yorker, Ryan Leza. From People magazine, Sandra Subiraj Westphal. From Politico, Glenn Thrush, Kenneth Vogel, Mike Allen, Annie Carney, Gabe Debenetti, John Harris. From The Guardian newspaper, Jessica Valenti, Manisha Rajesh, Sadie Doyle. From The Hill, Brent Badowski, Amy Parnes. From Vice, Alyssa Manstrumacano or something like that. From Vox, John Allen. And from the Washington Post, Karen Tumulty and Anne Garan. These people and the news outlets they work for, who unsurprisingly have not fired them for attending dinners with the Clintons and for colluding and leaking information and stuff. With a few exceptions, they have not fired most of these people, and these people are fake news. The outlets they are associated with are fake news. And don't let the irony escape you on this either, that the term fake news was coined by that last one there, the Washington Post, as a label for bloggers and alternative news outlets who had the audacity to act like real journalists and report the truth, as opposed to being shills to the left-wing political establishment by saying things like reporting on the WikiLeaks email leaks would be unethical and stuff like that, while at the same time reporting on false claims of sexual assault that later were settled out of court. And by settled, I mean the charges were dropped when it was found that they were being paid to make these claims. These people on this list are the worst enemies of the American people and the biggest threats to our democracy. These people are terrorists, and their weapons are the pen, the keyboard, and your TV screen. These people need to be the subject of investigation by Congress, along with the DNC, as they have demonstrably engaged in unethical behavior in an attempt to influence the results of the 2016 election using misinformation, an attempt they failed in. What's especially sad is the temper tantrums they have thrown. Aside from Wolf Blitzer's terrorist-style hit list before the inauguration, there has been crying and whining from the likes of Rachel Madcow. Of course, they've doubled down on the Russia did it narrative as well, and tried up and down to accuse Trump of being a Russian puppet. But the most pathetic thing so far, in my opinion, has been the racist crybaby remarks of Chris Cuomo. This piece of human garbage claimed that labeling what he and his colleagues do, which, make no mistake, is creating and spreading fake news. He claims that labeling them fake news is like using the N-word. And I really hope he gets his ass kicked outside of his office by a mob of angry black people, because this racism that's indicative of the left, right there, buddy, that's an example of it. So far, only one of these pieces of crap, to my knowledge, has faced any punishment for their actions, and that's CNN's Donna Brazile, who was fired after she leaked debate questions to Clinton and Podesta and stuff. But when she was fired, she only left to take the position of the DNC head from Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was forced to step down from that position because she had worked with Hillary to make sure she was able to steal the primaries from Bernie Sanders, something that was uncovered in those leaks that were so unethical to report on. It's a revolving door of corruption that not anybody on the left seems to care about, since they're busy in their usual activities of trying to start World War III with Russia and trying to screw over the Rust Belt and stuff, Meanwhile, John Harris, who's the editor-in-chief Politico, he hasn't stepped down after asking for a job with the Clintons, nor apparently has Glenn Thrush, another reporter for Politico, who actually sent his articles to the Clinton campaign to be reviewed before he attempted to publish them. And scumbag John Harwood still keeps his job after not only colluding with Clinton and her campaign manager Podesta to downplay the FBI investigation into her email servers, but also showing an extremely disgusting bias while moderating a Republican primary debate that even fellow liberal pundits admitted he went too far, and there was transparent his, disdain and bias. It's business as usual, basically. But after national and local outlets of the mainstream media brazenly colluded with the Clinton campaign, they have no right to complain as we call them out on it. And it's our responsibility to hit them where it hurts by tuning out. And it's not just the Clinton campaign they colluded with. I'm about to cover that in a second. They colluded with the former administration. It kind of hurts having to tune out of these networks, though, because some of them were what my grandmother and my father grew up listening to as reliable news sources before they became these monstrous propaganda networks. But what really hurts is how I had to listen to ABC News broadcast a string of lies last week while I was washing dishes in the kitchen. I could hear it from the living room. You know, the worst one was they claimed that Donald Trump was a liar for saying he inherited a mess from Obama. The worst one is they claim that Obama left with a 5.6 rate of unemployment, 5.6%. This, as well as all of Obama's job numbers, is completely, totally fake. In fact, Gallup themselves debunked this theory, and I'll post a link to the article that I found written by them in the description. But anyway, the real unemployment rate is like 9.9% of able-bodied, working-age people. The Obama administration, they got 5.6% by actually going as far as trying not to count people who have been unemployed for an extremely long time and have simply given up on finding work. Or people who, despite being qualified in advanced fields like engineering or healthcare, decide to mow their neighbor's lawn once a month for $20. You know, not even an actual paying job. But you know, they're so committed to lying, they will even count a job that children do for pocket change as employment, so they can ignore the fact that Donald Trump inherited a huge freaking mess from the previous administration, which was so severely incompetent to the point where, when Obama left the White House, only 44% of the U.S. population had full-time gainful employment. There are so many lies, and this administration definitely needs to tackle them. And we, as American citizens, need to help. We need to shout it from the rooftops. The mainstream media is the definition of fake news and propaganda. We need to shout it until CNN and its cohorts are out of business, and the terrorists on that list I read above are out of work. Thank you very much for listening, and I will point out that one new thing I tried this time was FM quality audio in an attempt to improve the performance of my microphone, so if you have any opinion on that, leave it in the comments. Still trying to improve. Anyway, thanks for listening. Be sure to check those links out in the description, and have a classy day.